Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this second episode in Season 5 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests on this episode include Rick Monroe. He's a singer-songwriter, lead singer of Rick Monroe and the Hitmen. Got a new release to talk about, Six Gun Soul. We'll also talk with our good friend Mira Goto. She's got a new EP called Before, which is available now. Of course, there are many ways that you can help this completely independent podcast stay afloat. If you would, please take the time to rate. You can also subscribe. You can share with your friends, and even if you'd like to help financially, there's Patreon membership available, and we've got some autographed giveaways that are coming as we reach member thresholds. Well, before we get started, I wanted to take a few moments to share a little bit about where we are and what we hope to grow moving forward. Since starting the podcast, our family's faced constant challenges, which I've allowed to quiet my voice. Now, people ask why I'm not posting on socials as much, being as active in our community, and more. Now, my emotional well-being has been tested and continues to be tried on almost a daily basis. Now, trying to be a positive voice, I've chosen to keep silent rather than share my heart. Losing my brother Rick in 2020 was honestly the most shocking loss I've ever experienced. I wasn't prepared for it, but I used it as motivation to work harder and be better to others as he was. Almost a year later, we took in my father-in-law to care for, and not being the caregiver type, this presented a whole new set of challenges in our daily lives and financial burdens too. Now, needing more room to accommodate Jim, we moved to a larger home in 2022. At this time, my regular full-time radio gig came to an end. Now, I'd rather not focus on the ending of that stage of my career in life, but acknowledge it didn't go the way I was hoping. Now, I loved serving the listeners of Southwest Oklahoma and North Texas for almost 20 years, and those will be some of the most cherished memories of my life. Now, since leaving radio, the challenges have continued to mount. 3 weeks after I moved and loss of my job, my dad had a fall which resulted in a hip replacement, rehab, and ultimately an infection that took him from us 2 weeks later. Now, trying to find clarity of mind has been difficult as I've tried to continue putting out content while also trying to support my family however I must. I do want to thank you for being there, listening, and supporting. I'm not the guy that likes to ask for help, but any support that you can give via Patreon, Venmo, or any other stream of revenue helps us continue to keep the lights on, the Wi-Fi active, and more meaningful conversations coming. The links to all of those will be in our show notes. And as is usual, as we get back into the episode, we will be sharing some recent highlight or low light stories around our guest visits, like this one. Now, if you've been amazed at how delicious a recent zero sugar product tastes, there might be a surprising reason for that. Now, Pepsi is recalling more than 230 cases of Schweppes Zero Sugar Ginger Ale because it's actually chocked full of sugar. Now, there was some kind of mix-up and the product canned as zero sugar contained full sugar. Now, the recall affects nearly 5,600 cans, and it includes products that were shipped to Maryland, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. Now, naturally, this is more than just an unexpected sugar high. Now, some people have medical conditions that make these products dangerous to drink. Now, no injuries or illnesses have been reported, and it's unclear how they discovered the error. All right, guys, promised you another very special guest, and the last time we visited, I think my daughter was, I think she was about 12, and she was playing the role of a mic stand as Rick was visiting us in Nashville. Rick Monroe with us, and Rick, first off, good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you too, man.
Now, tell us how have things evolved since we saw each other 6 years ago? I mean, I think you're still sponsored. The same crew kind of still sponsors you, and the road team and all that. But how has things evolved for you, sound wise and everything?
We Almost Sound is a major evolution of what we've gone through. But I mean, in the last couple of years, it's we're still with, I guess, like Monster as a main company, but we're kind of over in the Full Throttle division right now, and that's kind of what we've been. I'm even look at me,
I see that.
we're repping my company. So but, I mean, because that's a huge company. I mean, they just picked up was it Bing or what was that? Is that Bing
Yeah.
energy drink? Or
Mhm.
so it's Monster's a big
Bang. Yeah.
company. Bang, that's it.
Yeah.
Sound. See, I just drink my Full Throttle. I don't know about these other drinks.
You don't, he says,
No,
I
but
don't diversify.
yeah, no, we've been really fortunate to be with that company for about 6, 7 years. They've been awesome. They've been very supportive. We actually just picked up Tony Chachery's,
Mhm.
the Spice Company,
Mhm.
which was pretty. Well, now we've spiced up our music a lot. That's helped. Um, we've had Roper with us for years. That's why we do the boots and shorts and that stupid stuff. So if you ever see that online, that's kind of growing. It's hilarious. We'll be playing somewhere, and college dudes love it for some reason.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'll just hear boots and shorts, boots. I'll be like, what the? All right. But no, so basically, from what I was doing as a solo artist, I had just the Rick Monroe thing,
Yeah.
and that's what I was doing. And Slow was kind of putting together a band. I had a guitar player that I had with me for a good amount of time. And then, we ended up getting a rhythm section, and then we did a West Coast tour,
Mhm.
and that's when COVID hit. So I finally got my 50th state in, which was Oregon.
Mhm.
And as soon as we got that, all of a sudden the word started coming down that shows were getting canceled. So we came home, and then eventually everything was canceled, and we kind of had nothing else to do. And back then, everyone was afraid to go out. They didn't know, you didn't want to interact with a bunch of people you didn't know where they've been, sort of a thing, because that was kind of what you were told. So we kind of we're like, well, we've been on the road together for the last couple of months. We're here. So we just kept saying, well, let's just keep writing and keep working because there's nothing else we can do.
Mhm.
So we just started kind of doing a weekly write, the bass player Alan and I, and just started coming up with some really good material. Just kept getting stronger. We were able to get into the streaming thing.
Mhm.
We had an engineer at the time, Jim, who was just amazing. It just did magic with streaming, and got way ahead of the curve on that. And that kind of kept us going. And then as everything evolved, the music and the new songs, we decided, I'm like, I want to go in and try to do a project. And as we were in the studio, we're going to do another Rick Monroe record, but all the songs were so much with the band that I was like, well, it should be more of a band.
Mhm.
And I was joking about these guys kill it every night, so they're the Hitmen. Well, that was a cool name, Rick Monroe and the Hitmen. And it's that just started changing, the sound to be more inclusive of what they brought to the table, not just what my ideas were or outside writers.
Mhm.
So everything was us doing it in house, the guitar playing, the drumming, and all that stuff. Instead of Nashville uses
Right.
a lot of session players, and we had some, but generally we covered everything. So that started creating the next level of sound, and we're kind of off and running with that.
And
That was a long explanation to a short question.
and the cohesiveness, how much did that time not being on the road and having those individual rights, how did that help you guys cohesiveness, if you will?
Well, an immense amount, because again, everybody, when you have skin in the game, you care about it more. My dog is trying to come in. I love that. She's like, "What are you doing, Dad?" No, like when people have skin in the game, they really care about what they're doing, and I think the opportunity to let people create their parts and be part of something, for me, I have to give up a little bit of control and be like, hey, you do your thing, and before it was kind of everything was like what I kind of wanted,
Mhm.
but now it's been amazing to watch everybody's input makes it just better. And then we have a drummer from Seattle, we have a guitar player from upstate New York, we have the bass players from Kentucky, and I'm from Florida. So you literally have all kinds of and regional sounds, and that kind of musical influence comes together, and we've created something that I think is really. So I just saw a review that we just got about us, but like these guys have gone their own lane, and it's really cool. Like that people aren't doing this anymore.
So is that how it makes it so easy for you to do so many different so many genre covers, if you will? Is the diversity nationwide, if you will?
Yeah, well, because everybody has so many different influences, and we love so much different kind of music. So we'll do a medley that's just ridiculous. It'll start off with like American Girl, work its way all the way through, Sublime, and we'll maybe throw in some Slipknot or Tool, and the next thing we're doing like hip hop and NWA, and and we're going next thing we're doing Mr. Brightside. just we can, when we mix up stuff, we can do that. And I think that's also how our music is doing. But I think we're getting more refined in the sound that we've created. One of the big things is harmonies, because we're into like that sound. I grew up more singer-songwriter stuff, and then got into metal and country about at the same time. My guitar player is definitely a metalhead, like straight up. He's like, he can make mouth sing, yeah. My bass player, who's my main co-writer, he's always been kind of like a 70s rocker guy. Like he really loves all that stuff. And the drummer, of course, Seattle, he's a grunge guy. So it's funny. We were just in the studio yesterday. We're working with a guy named Lee Turner, who plays keys for Darius and Hootie, because Hootie's about to do a new tour.
Yep.
And it was funny. We're in there, and he's like, and I'm telling him where we're from. He's like, I hear it. It's like that song is Nirvana meets REO Speedwagon. He goes, and that song is kind of like, which is a weird combination.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also a band that's open for the Oak Ridge Boys and Queensryche.
Yeah.
Within like a 6-month period. And then we went out and toured with Ted Nugent, and then went out and did shows with Trace Atkins. We've gone out and done shows with Slaughter and played with, Charlie Daniels. Yep. We're about to go play with Dropkick Murphy and Pennywise, and we've also played with Brantley Gilbert and Leonard Skinner. So, figure us out. Good luck.
Now the new music, which way is home? I was checking out the official video is coming soon on this one, yep. Part of the new project. And tell us where this one came from. And it seems like as of late, Rick, the way life for me has gone is that songs and stories from songs come to me at a time where I think they need to be shared with my audience. So I think this song has something special for somebody that's watching or listening today.
Well, I mean, I hope so. It was actually the second song that Alan and I wrote. And it was just, look, I was born in Clearwater. I moved to England. I've lived in Kansas, North Carolina, Los Angeles, and then now, Tennessee. So, I moved all over. And, it's like we have a song called Gypsy. This song is kind of about that idea of where is home for me? Like, I suffer from off-stage fright. I'm comfortable playing music and I think that's kind of what the home thing is, but it's kind of what's home to anybody. Like, what is home to you? Home is where the heart is. Home is where your family is. Home is where you feel good. And so that was kind of the inception of this idea, something that's like, and plus we tour so much, and, getting home is such a thing. I remember the first time that driving to Tennessee and I saw the sign, I'm like, oh, wow, I'm actually home. I'd lived here about 10 years before that happened, because we've been, we move so much. So, I think maybe that's it. Obviously, I want people to make their own interpretation of it. And the whole album is actually, we've been putting out singles digitally for about the last year-ish. And that's kind of the plan. And then we put out the whole album with this next song. And we're already in the studio cutting the next album. And we'll be doing same thing. We'll be doing singles, throw out a couple random ones, and then do the album. But I got to show you something, which is really cool. I get close. Hi, everybody. The vinyl, which we've never done vinyl, nice. And I'm going to keep doing vinyl now, is each one of these are completely unique. Like every vinyl is different from the other.
Wow.
So like this is super cool colors, and we used it from what was left over of other orders.
Oh.
So we ended up with a randomize, and so we repurposed the vinyl.
Wow,
so,
that's awesome.
And we did a very limited amount of those. And so you can only there's only so many of them that are going to be different colors. So you should order them now.
I'm going to have to have one. Got to have one for my collection. Now tell me, what do you think it is, Rick, about vinyl that's had the resurgence as of late?
The guy at the manufacturing place actually said it best. He says it has to occupy a space in your life. And I think with everything being so digital, fractured, people don't own things, nothing's tangible. When you get a record, it's a thing. You have to take care of it. It's like a possession. You have to have space for it. You have to have a place to play it. It's more of an experience than just, hey, here's like something that you can stream and then throw away. Yep. And I think that people kind of miss that. And I think that's, there's a natural need to like see, touch, feel, be involved in something. And so I think people that are music fans, it's giving them the opportunity. And as an artist, it's giving us the opportunity to connect a little bit deeper with them. So, I mean, I think that's where it's coming from.
That's cool. Now, does that kind of help bridge the gap maybe for you to make it feel a little bit more tangible because of doing the streaming and releasing singles individually like that, and then the full project? Does that maybe make it feel a little more old school, if you will?
Definitely. Well, because I think when you're doing all the streaming, it kind of seems like an ethereal idea. Yeah. It's like the other people listening, and the numbers are ridiculous. Like back in the day, if you had gotten 150,000 spins on a record, that'd have been a huge hit.
Yeah.
And now you get 150,000 streams on Spotify, and they're like, that's not really enough for anything. And we just hit the 4.5 million mark on our YouTube, and it's still funny. They're just like, why don't you have 10 million streams? And you're just like, whoa, but a record, that one record probably represents several 100,000 streams, that one record, when it comes to revenue. So in that sense, it's much better. Plus, again, it occupies a space in a person's life. And that's what you want to do with music. I mean, to me, music is doing a soundtrack for a life, being part of someone's life. And that's what you want to create.
Now, how has the songwriting changed? Is it brighter, darker, or how would you describe your songwriting as of late?
Well, look at the world. We have a song called "World's Gone Crazy," and probably the influence of just the world that we live in. I think we dance around a lot more spiritual issues and kind of the world at large. The human condition seems to be a little bit more of our situation. I don't know if that's just because Alan and I just seem to really, investigate that in songs, but I definitely feel like all this stuff is I don't want to say it's darker, but I guess it kind of is, just in the sense of, a lot of the modern country stuff is all like, I'm on a tailgate, I'm just popping a beer and life is good. And it's just, and we're not doing that. And I mean, so I think we try to dig in a little bit more to the human experience and try to, excavate some more of those real deep emotions the most we can.
And have you noticed the fan interaction as a band as opposed to a solo entity has maybe felt a little bit more inclusive for the fans as well?
I've been really fortunate because all the guys I've ever had that played with me, I've always, I've never been like, it's me and you guys stay out of the way. I've always tried to keep people, like give them their own lane so they can do their own thing. But I do believe that people are starting to recognize these guys as being part of this, and the guys themselves, again, you have skin in the game, you want to be part of something. So they're being more proactive to promote it, and they're realizing now how much none of these guys have really gone through. Well, the drummer's actually done stuff where he had like a record deal and did charting stuff, but the other guys, this is kind of all new territory for them. So I think that they're starting to really get the fact that this is ours. And when we chart a song, we did that. It's not like I'm just a side player playing someone else's parts, and I think that is resonating more and more with them, which I think resonates with people. I mean, the whole thing is always the interaction of how we feel towards people and people feel back towards us. And that creates that energy.
And with all the hubbub made about what's country, what's not country, for you to hit the charts of the rock charts, I mean, did you get any pushback from that post you put out the last week or so?
No, we have. I mean, luckily everybody's so keyed in on Beyonce, they don't really care what we're doing. And we're also, here's the funny thing though, Tim Montana and Hardy are both on that chart too. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like there's been a movement. I kind of think why the pop world and all these other people are trying to push their way onto the country bandwagon, I think a lot of the guys that are more Southern rock or more like rock-based country are like, well, I'm going to jump off and go find something else because this is becoming a completely weird. I mean, it's just, the landscape is really bizarre. And, obviously I could just go off on rants on some of the things, but it's just, I just don't understand the push for all these genre changes and everything. You just put out good music and people are going to like it. But then, I don't know. I'm like, Should I say that?
That's one of the things I appreciate about not being on having the programming hat on anymore. I just get to listen and enjoy the music, and I don't have to
Yeah.
decide what other people are going to enjoy anymore.
Well, I sadly think that now it's not even about what people are going to enjoy. It's about what they're being told they're going to have to enjoy. And there's a lot of things that, I see a lot of the threads that are like, well, if you don't like this, you're a certain way. And if you don't like that, it's because of this. And it's like they've kind of taken away people's opinions.
Yeah.
If people are like, I don't like it because I don't like it, or I like traditional country and this isn't traditional, then they're like, well, you're a bad person. It's like, no, I don't really, that doesn't resonate with me. But now it doesn't matter. And with Beyonce, the fact that she's got like 26, like the top 26 songs on iTunes at country isn't because country fans are listening. It's Beyonce fans. Mm-hmm. And I feel bad for the 26 other artists that are now knocked down the chart because who knows how long she's going to hold those positions. And now if you're the legitimate country artist that's been at it for years, busting your ass, and you put out a song and you're like, yeah, we're going to, and there's like, oh yeah, you're like number 40 and now you're gone. It's tough. I mean, but that's why we do our own thing.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate because our company has got picked up by Virgin, and it seems like Virgin is doing really well. One of our label mates is a guy named Billy Morrison, just put a song out with Ozzy, and that thing's blowing up. So I kind of feel like the timing for us is great because no one tells us what to do, how to do it. They just try to facilitate us creating music. So while that noise is going on over here, Rick Monroe and the Hitmen are just kind of going, cool, we're going to make some music over here and we'll check it out. Hopefully you like it.
and to have somebody like Virgin have your back and to a group that maybe does things their own way. I mean, that's kind of got to be a little pat on the back saying, maybe you guys are doing it right.
Yeah, well, I feel so. And we have a good team of people that have been developing around us and have been with us a long time. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it's just the timing seems to be right. I mean, but we'll see as everything comes out because like April 12th, the actual album comes out and that becomes available everywhere. Like I said, you can get an autographed like copy right now if you go to rickmonroe.com. Just throwing it out there. And you go to merch and you get one. It's cool. We all autograph it, and we don't know what color it is until you get it. So that's always fun.
That's cool.
But yeah, it'll come out. It goes out in stores, and it's pretty cool because we're getting to be part of Record Day, like Record Store Day, which that's a neat thing to be part of. We're going to be going into record stores and doing in stores, like really cool old school things that haven't been around for a long time.
Yeah. I've seen a couple other artists doing it in, I think I saw one of our buddies do one up in Tulsa, like Tower Records or something like that. Yeah. And I was like, that is so cool. I mean, that totally takes me back in the day.
Yeah. And it seems like there's a good movement for it. And, it's there. And I mean, if that can generate, more, well, the thing is, I think it generates more solid fans. Again,
yeah.
if you're on a playlist in between, Morgan Wallen and Chris Stapleton on Spotify, people might hear you, but they don't really hear you, or they'll listen to you, but they don't hear you because they're just kind of part of a stream of music. But if somebody goes to a record store and they buy a record and they listen to it, they hear you.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to be. You want to be heard. Numbers are great. And, I wish we had a 10 million stream song, but I'd also rather sell, 1,000 records,
Another question about the vinyl, as you're pulling the vinyl out, what was the inspiration for the inserts? I mean, everybody's got to wonder about the insert, right?
Oh, I just for our insert, we actually just did just basically did the lyrics and then did all the thank yous, and so that's pretty cool. It's a good read, and it's fun to have people actually. That's something to have something to read. So you get the record, you pull it out, you look at it, and then the colors have been the coolest thing.
Yeah.
See, my dog's so excited about it. She's back there. Actually, we Safe Light came and fixed our windshield for a tour vehicle, and it was leaking. So the guy's here right now, and so that's probably what she's barking about.
She's just saying hi, letting him know. Letting him know.
She's like, I want to eat you. I'm sorry. I want to.
Now, aside from the album, aside from the road, what's next for Rick Monroe and the Hitmen?
I mean, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And like I said, we went into the studio yesterday and started cutting the next record.
Yeah.
We still have a bunch of songs in the can from the last record. So we'll be throwing out a couple different things. We might throw another song at rock radio. Because we wrote two with Jared Weeks from Saving Abel, and it was Jared and Scott Wilson and us. And so the second one is called Wounds, and that one we might actually push towards rock, which we'll see. And I just think we're just going to keep trying to create, our thing. It's a joke. We have a thing called Blue Jean Rock, which it's like fads come and go, but blue jeans are always there. And that's what we want to be like. We want to live in that kind of space, the blue jean rock space, or we call ourselves polyamorous. Yeah.
Wow.
Because
I like it. Yeah, I like that.
These are just because that's kind of the thing. Because in marketing, it's funny. Our PR person's always like, "Well, you got to give them something to hang on to." I'm like, "Fine, call us Blue Jean Rock," and people are like, "Okay, well, that's different." So
that's funny. That's funny. Now, again, the website, social media, where folks can get the merch, get the vinyls, the upcoming album, everything else. Where's the best place to keep up with everything?
rickmonroe.com has got everything. I mean, that's all the different links, but obviously, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, sort of. Although it's funny because Universal pulled all their catalog off. Wow. So we don't have, we'll have my older music's on there, but none of the Hitman stuff's on there because we're on, Virgin's under Universal. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I kind of think it's a good thing in the long run, but we'll see. But we are on TikTok. We're on, Facebook, X. I think we've got a LinkedIn. I don't even know if I visit that or not. I mean, right. Unless you want to get my business resume, things like that. We have all the basic socials are all there, and we're fairly active, all of us. Mm-hmm. And we run it, so it's not like outside people. So if you write us, it's one of us writing you back.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, Rick, again, the official video, the album and everything coming the 12th.
The 12th is when it all comes out. And then I think we're going to radio on this on the 22nd, I think is the impact date. And then, it's going to be in the stores. It's going to be online. Go to the website. Just check it out. Give it a listen. I think if you like Southern rock, country, I think this is a great album for you. We're really proud of it. And, we're just going to keep doing it.
That's good stuff. Well, Rick, it has been too long, brother. Let's not take so long in between next time, my friend.
Oh, no, I'll just keep you updated on everything too, man.
That's right. That's right. Well, Rick, always good to see you, my friend. Looking forward to the new album and look forward to catching up again real soon.
Thanks, brother. Really appreciate it.
Now, if it turns out this works on humans, the makers of Axe body spray might be preventing a lot of drunken brawls. The Wall Street Journal just did a big write-up on how farmers have started using Axe body spray to prevent male sheep from fighting. Someone realized the smell is so strong, it makes the ram's natural pheromones. Now, it's a trick that apparently has been filtering through the sheep herding community for several years. A specific scent called Axe Africa is supposed to work best. Wikipedia says it's also marketed under the name Axe Kilo. So if your sheep can't get along or other guys constantly want to fight you at the club, maybe you want to buy a can. All right, guys, promised you another very special guest. And as we've been talking before we came on the air, one of my musical buddies, we've been talking for, I think, about 4 years now, maybe 4 years, right? 2020, 2019, maybe.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe 2020 was 4 years ago.
I know.
That scares me that you just said that.
Mira, tell us how the music has progressed over the last couple of years and how much a change, maybe a little a Nashville influence has done to your California country, if you will.
Well, good question. Big question, because, the last 4 years, given the pandemic and sort of like life shift, has been hard. And I think that's reflected in my latest project. It's just a little bit darker, a little bit more mature, I would say. I've definitely changed as a person. The last 4 years have changed me, and in some ways for the better, and in some ways for, just the more life experience, if you will. So, yeah, that's definitely showing up in my music, and I've been able to put out some stuff that I feel represents me really well, who I am as a person, and what I can now sort of tolerate as a threshold, right? Haven't killed anybody yet, but we've thought about it a couple
She
times.
said, "But we've been close. We've been close."
A little stabby, yeah, no.
Now tell us about the new album, the new EP. Before, tell us the process going into it and picking the songs to match so well, if you will.
Well, I became a parent in the last 4 years, right? So that I had a lot of pressure. I felt that maybe I put on myself to write a song for my son. And, I was pregnant and I was like, I haven't even met him yet. I don't know who he is. And I don't, and I was nervous. Like there's always that thing in the back of your head, like, is this actually going to work out? And
Hmm.
um, so I waited for him to get here, and then I'm in the throes of like new parenthood, and I got to have a writing appointment with Greg Barnhill, who's just out of this world, phenomenal writer. And I told him I want to write a song for my son, and he and I had a very emotional few hours together because he's also a father, and so we wrote that song. We That was a really good time. And just a couple of the songs are a little bit more about like life is hard and it's beautiful and it's all of those things. Every like the spectrum between like really difficult and really challenging and like really an opportunity for growth and then like the beauty within all of that. And so I don't know. I A lot of some of it's true and some of it's sort of like an extension of the truth, if you will, and I'm just really proud of it.
And Mira, have you found this is something I've battled with over the last couple of years? We've talked about going through the good, going through the bad, but looking back is seeing the bright spots even in the dark spots, and how hard is that to pull those out, especially in the moment, if you will.
Hindsight is 2020, right? And like it's funny that hindsight is like also the year of the pandemic. Like those are the same numbers. I don't think that's a coincidence. You know, definitely like it's like part of the fabric of who you are, like what you've been through, and it's not necessarily like a bad thing that like we've, we go through these hard times. Like it's not fun, certainly. And like some of the stuff that I've been through, I wouldn't wish on anybody. But I also know that like this makes me a more empathetic person to somebody that I run into who's going through it and being able to really like listen and really understand other people. And I like people. I genuinely do. I like talking to people. I'm very extroverted. I could walk outside and accidentally have a 2 hour conversation with somebody because that's how much I like
Yeah.
people. And so, you know, given the gift of experience is not always a gift that you want in the moment, but afterwards you sort of I'm sort of grateful for the growth that's come out of that and the relationships that I have that are now stronger as a result of some of that and the stories that I now can tell from a different perspective and relate to people in that way in what I do. So yeah, if I have to find a silver lining, I would say that's it.
Yeah. And I notice, of course, going through your list, the track list of before, I noticed my buddy Kent on there. And what was it? What's it
Oh,
like to work with
with a
Kent on a,
legend,
I know,
with a
exactly.
freaking legend.
And I know he,
Yeah,
and I know he doesn't carry that aura, uh,
not at all.
purposefully, but I mean, I know it's got to be a little disheartening whenever he comes into the room going like,
The air
what do I gonna
smells a
bring?
little sweeter. It's like, no, he is, I mean, he's the kind of guy too that like I feel like if I called him in hey, I'm like down the street and I got a flat tire, you got a minute? I really like we don't know each other that well. We've written a few times. This is the one song of ours that and we wrote this also with Philip White. There was three of us on this track. Loving You Is Killing Me. Um he, gosh, he even sent me a message like on the release day, just that was so sweet and how proud of me he was. It's just, it was funny. You know how when you get a Venmo that makes the cash register sound on your phone? So we're riding, and his phone made that Venmo sound, and Philip goes, oh, that's another royalty check for Ken over there. So we're cracking up. But that's, you know, I don't know. He's just a great guy, and every time we get an opportunity to write together, I feel lucky to be in the same room, breathing the same air as him, and Philip as well. They're the dynamic duo. They're an excellent team, and I know that when I have an appointment on my calendar with those two, that I'm leaving that day with a great song.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you pull from the different songwriters? What are maybe some of the biggest things that you've learned from working with songwriters like Kent, like Philip, like Greg, and the many others that you've worked with?
That's a really good question. What do I pull from them? I don't know. Anything they want to give me, right? But what I hope to do as an artist in that situation is to bring them something that inspires them, right? So that together, like, it's my job, if I have a story that I want to tell, to bring it in and say, this is the story that I'd like to tell today. Can you help me tell it in a way that is artistic, that is relatable, that is, has a really nice melody within my range, and here's what key I like to sing in, that kind of stuff. So I try to consider it more from the perspective of what can I bring to them.
Mm.
And often they're using tools that they have that I don't necessarily have in my own toolbox, but that's the beauty of collaboration. So maybe I'll learn a new way to say something or a new way to rhyme something, but if I can bring something that inspires my collaborators for the day, then I've done my job.
Now when I'm listening, and Finn is Finn saying hi, say hi, Finnegan. Here we go. He's wrapped himself up in my headphone cords as usual.
Like a cat.
Now coming out of 2020, the live shows. I mean, the live shows of 2020 kind of lent themselves to kind of your sound anyway, right? The open air kind of sound is kind of what I kind of see as your shows back in 2020. But how have things changed with things opening up and the first shows when things were completely opened up? I mean, how much appreciation for live music did you see?
I have sold out almost every show I've done since then, and I don't play very often anymore, so I think that does contribute.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember being emotional the first time that we could do a live show and people sat further apart than normal and they were wearing masks, and I had my mask on right until I got on stage. And I'm based in California, so things were just a little bit more strict out here than other parts of the country. And I might sneeze. Sorry. Now that I've said it, it's gone away.
It's gone.
Um, so yeah, it was a really tough time to not be able to do. Excuse me. There it is.
There you go.
Got it out of the way. And I had a pretty significant online presence in terms of online, live streams. But then, of course, the pandemic happened and everybody was live streaming and it saturated the market. And the app that I would use to live stream went away. They didn't survive because everybody was doing the Facebook lives so it's definitely different. I don't really know how to answer that other than like it's a gift every time I get the opportunity to sing in public to people who've paid to be there, and it's full. I have people, contacting me going, "Hey, I'm just gonna get tickets at the door tomorrow," and I'm like, "Actually, you can't. It sold out 2 weeks ago." So that's, I mean, what a wonderful problem to have.
That's right. That's right. Now, what with the new EP and what is next for Mira? What are you challenging yourself with next? That's what I ask.
Well, that's a really good question. And actually, that's going to be a little bit different than maybe what you're expecting. So I'm definitely promoting my album. I'm really, really proud of it. And I did a very small, very humble sort of release. I didn't partner with any labels or anybody. And this is just this, like this one looks like Mira. It smells like Mira. And, but I also, in the process of making it, I've found some areas that I feel are limiting me in my in my skill set. So I'm going back to school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm going to Berkeley School of Music. I'm doing some
Wow.
of the classes online, but I'm actually going to do in person out in Boston. And I'm going to expand in a few different areas, one of those being production. I'd really like to have control over my songs and the way that they sound from the top down.
Wow.
So that's I'm really looking forward to that. I've been getting my hands a little bit dirty, but uh it's fun. I finally feel the desire to learn all of that language.
That's cool. Now to be able to, and then you can have your hands from the beginning to the end.
hmm
Eh,
And that sound that you referenced in 2020 that sort of came out of that, we in the industry we kind of call that bedroom pop
yeah.
because everybody's doing it at home and it's it sounds amazing. It doesn't matter if you're in a $10 million studio or if you're in your bedroom. If the record sounds good, then who cares where you made it? So I'm working on figuring out what kind of bells and whistles I want to know how to operate and figure out what I'm going to make in that
That's cool.
scenario. Yeah.
That's cool. Now, what motivated that? Or when did that idea of where did that first start for you?
That's a good question. I went to a writer's retreat over the summer, and I feel like 75% of the people there were either Berkeley alum or professors at Berkeley, like online or on in campus, whatever. And some of the guest speakers were like the head of the songwriting department.
Mhm.
And I started talking to people, and everybody sort of had the same positive reviews of how wonderful their experience has been, either as an alum or a professor, and saying, "Oh, you could just take a couple classes and see what you think." And I thought, maybe I will. Maybe I could do that. And I always have to hire people to do demos for me, and it's fine. But then I have to, they ask me how I want it. And I go, well, like kind of like this. I like these drums, but I'm not a drummer. So just do something that sounds good. So I don't even have the vocabulary to sort of communicate what I want. But I do now. And I just sort of need to fine tune it a little bit. And it's pretty cool to be able to, I don't know. I like learn how to play guitar and I learned how to play violin and I could sing, but I don't have like the theory experience necessarily and I don't know how to edit vocals and I don't know like what kind of reverb they're using in that one song that I like and I like the sound of it, but
I want that
being
one,
able,
not the other one.
yeah. So being able to communicate even just to pick up the vocabulary so that when I do even if I'm not the producer on the record, even if I do still hire a producer on the record, I can still have the same vocabulary to communicate what I want.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's big. That's big.
It is big. Yeah. So, and I always want to be a better songwriter. I always want as many tools in my songwriter toolbox as possible. So we're gonna see how it goes. And I'm loving it so far.
Now, how big of a difference in song one that you wrote and where you're at now?
Like when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
That one is somewhere on YouTube. I played it in public because nobody loved me enough to tell me not to. I mean, I think it's a significant difference, but certainly like there comes a point if you're going to be a songwriter or a performer, a singer-songwriter in any capacity, that you have to share. You have your first song that you share. It may not be the first song that you wrote, but you got the first song that you share, and that's totally important to demonstrate growth. So yeah, I mean, I would say that's super different. Wouldn't necessarily know that they're the same person, but it's also like it's good to show how much things have changed. Even between these two, I think
Yeah.
there's a difference here between these two projects. So, and I'm proud of both of them, and I'm proud of that first song that I put out, in public, because it's I couldn't have gotten here without
Mm.
going there
That's
first.
right. That's right. Now, what is the biggest difference that you see when you hold those two projects up next to you?
They're black and white.
Yeah, but when you but when you look at the picture of yourself in the two,
Yeah,
what's the biggest difference you see in yourself?
this woman's a mother. This woman has no idea what's about to happen to her. That's probably the biggest difference. I lost a parent between the two as well, and then we had a whole ass pandemic. Sorry, I
Yeah.
said ass. But a lot's different, and life is hard, and it's beautiful, and it's everything in between, and we have we have seasons of change, and those changes aren't always comfortable, and that's kind of where I was in my life when I was writing all of these songs and figuring out how I wanted them to fit together in one cohesive project, and the next one might be a little bit more hopeful, like, hey, you made it, and so I do feel like I have words of encouragement for people now who have been through or who are currently going through seasons of extreme difficulty and challenging, in growth opportunities, I guess. So
Yeah.
it's hard, but it can you can get through it. You can.
And
Not without help, but you can.
right. Now
Yeah.
when you release before and you
Mhm.
get the feedback from people feeling the same emotions,
Mhm.
how's that feel for you getting those first reflections from listeners?
It's it helps. I think the whole point of writing music and sharing it for me is to relate to people. And so getting that sort of feedback of like, girl, that song, oh my gosh, like Next Life on my old record, for example, is about a love connection that was like a missed opportunity, right? And the feedback that I got from that was like, I couldn't believe how common of a story it was between like for people, and they would private message me, and it's not my business to share that, but I got so many private messages on that song because people just relate to it, and it's human experience. And so yeah, the feedback on this, like this more challenging and like maybe darker stuff, is validating
Mm.
and like makes me feel less alone. And so what I hope is that it in turn, like my sharing my stories or my experience or my perspective on something can make my listeners feel less alone themselves.
Yeah.
I'm just a human, just like anybody else, and we're all trying to figure it out and do the
That's
best
right.
we can.
That's right. That's right. Well, Mira, if folks want to check out the videos, I was before we came on, I was going back, and nobody warned me.
Oh yeah.
Anybody else? You just you got to smile. Is that much fun to play live too,
Oh
and
yeah.
see
People
the
get they sing it back to me. I like
yeah
cut out in parts, and it's great. It's a great, like, just oh my gosh, just be who you are. Be wonderfully weird and unique, and share it, because it's life is too short.
yeah that's right.
Yeah.
Well, like I
The
said, I want to make sure to tell everybody where they can come up with the music, the merch, everything you got.
well, everything's pretty much on my website. If it's not there, it's linked. Look at that. When did I send those out? Was that in 2019 or 2020?
I'm guessing 2020.
Yeah, I feel like
It
it
was
was
so cool.
either at the beginning of or at the start of right before or right during the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Um, so my website is miragoto.com, miragoto.com. I've got everything on there. I've got videos and music. I've got a tiny little store. I've got some couple of show dates, not a ton, but I love to hear from people. Like I said, I like people. So to find me on your social media platform of choice, shoot me a message and let me know what you think.
That's right. Well, Mira, it is always good to see you, my friend. It's been too long. Let's not wait so long next time, all right?
I know. I feel like I need an excuse, but I just when I have another project, we could definitely find an excuse to chat then, but let's not go that long.
There you go. Well,
Thank you for making time for me today.
yes, Mira, it is a privilege. Check out the new EP Before, and be sure to subscribe her on all the socials, YouTube as well. Mira, we'll talk to you real soon. Again, do want to say thanks to our special guest, Mira Goto and Rick Monroe, for being our special guest on this episode. And what would an episode be if we didn't wrap it up with a stupid criminal file? Now, there is that ad campaign about how you're not you when you don't get your sugar fix. Well, maybe that's what happened in real life to this crazy guy who needed a pumpkin donut. A 35-year-old man named Antonio Rosario was arrested after he flew into an unhinged rage at a Dunkin' in New York City a while back. A worker called 911 and explained that it started when Antonio demanded 6 pumpkin donuts, but they only had 5 to sell him. They told him there's nothing they could do, but he wasn't having that. The worker said, "He's screaming in our face, telling us, 'You're gonna effing make it.'" At one point, Antonio stormed out and then came back with a gun. Now, thankfully, no one was hurt. The cops showed up and arrested him, and he did have a loaded semi-automatic gun on him. Now, he's facing up to 7 years in prison, partially because he's a convicted felon who isn't allowed to have a gun. Now, he's already served time twice before, once for attempted murder. Now, he just pleaded guilty, but they say that he will not be sentenced until July. Well, again, I do want to say thanks for joining us on this second episode of Season 5 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Hit me up on the socials. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at The Cameron Dole. If you have a special guest idea, just email me, gqwithcam@gmail.com. Also, be sure and consider helping fund the podcast via Patreon or Venmo with a link in our show notes. And well, now we're going to let our good friend Brandon Allen play us out. Let's talk again soon, my friends.